It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Jackson Williams. Brian Callahan spoke to the media at St. Thomas Sports Park earlier this afternoon and described how the team will look to align their new rookie wide receivers.
As far as like what spot they'll play at, I think Elix got a flex that kind of really X or Z for us, but I think that's flexible. Where I think Chim has an ability to he's really a kind of a three-hole player. He's got a lot of flexibility, so we're going to have to find what suits him the best. I do like the flexibility they both have. I think they both have ability to do multiple things in the offense.
Titans rookie minicamp starts next week, running May 9th through the 11th. In NFL news, the Buffalo Bills and wide receiver Elijah Moore have agreed on a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. Moore was drafted by the Jets in the second round of the 2021 NFL Draft and has spent the last two seasons with the Cleveland Browns. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Titans press conferences have been going on today. Well, Chad Brinker joined Buck Reisen in studio at 10 a.m., so if you want to go listen to that, if you missed it, go wherever you get your Zone podcast, and they're available everywhere you get your Zone podcast. Blaine, the rookie numbers came out today. And I guess the big question is, did Kevin Winston call you to ask you if he could wear 23? Because he is wearing 23.
Well, absolutely he didn't, because first of all, my number's not retired. So he won't be the first or the last to wear that number, as well as I saw Keith Bullock's numbers going to Olo Dejo.
Yep, and then Chris Johnson's number. Again, this goes back to the reason why maybe we shouldn't retire numbers.
Yeah. So, I could care less.
Yeah, it's just a joke.
Yeah. I hope he is a great player, though. I can't wait to see him play, because everybody talks about his stature and how he looks. And if he lives up to the billing, man, he will be starting. I don't know. Xavier Woods was out there, but I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of the case with all of these rookies, right? I mean, most of these rookies have a path to start. I mean, Gunnar Helm has a path to start. Obviously, both wide receivers have paths to start. I would say that probably the unlikeliest, outside of maybe someone getting injured, would be Jackson Slater, Marcus Harris, and Khalil Mullins. But they could get starting jobs on special teams, right? I mean, so there's a lot of different paths, and that's what they kind of said at the press conferences after the players got drafted, is that there is going to be competition. And I think that's the best way to go. Now, listen, I know that there's a lot of coach speak about the Will Levis, Cam Ward competition and all that kind of stuff. I don't think there's a competition. I think we're going to see it eventually. I don't know when it will happen, but eventually Cam Ward will be taking all the reps with the one, all of them. I just don't know when it's going to happen. I would venture to say fairly early, unless Will Levis surprises and actually comes in and has put in the work in the offseason. The work that he's put in actually has helped, and somehow he looks better than Cam Ward. I just have a hard time. I have a hard time finding that to be a probable situation. It's possible. I just don't think it's very probable.
Well, in sports, anything is probable. And with a guy with that kind of work ethic and Will Levis, I wouldn't put anything past him. Now, what you have to say is, we got to see him in game. All this practice nonsense, that really doesn't matter. I know you guys value a lot about practice, and that'll lead you, but you don't know what really a player is until they're actually in the moment in the game, especially quarterback. And so we won't see if he's improved. And if he's improved enough, bye-bye birdie. That means he's going to get traded. And that's what they're hoping to happen. And at the same time, the competition with Cam will help Cam rise to the occasion. He's the first pick of not only in the first round, but the whole entire draft. He will be starting. Yeah. Let's not get this twisted. Now, we're going to have a time, because you got to placate to, you don't want to give somebody something, especially with other guys around here who are all earning their way. He needs to earn his way. And that'll help him in his form of leadership, too, at the same time, because he has all the leadership qualities listening, talking to him. So I think they got to go through that maturation process. But I am with you. The sooner, the better. So as soon as they feel like, it's time, hey, it's their call. Hey, let him roll.
Yeah, because this will be the first time I've gone through, I guess, training camp with you. Obviously, we started the show together in late August of last year, so we didn't get to really do a lot of the training camp stuff. But I remember you talking about certain players or certain situations that you recall from your time at training camp last year, and you said I kept cautioning everybody, I kept telling everybody, quit overrating the training camp, quit overrating practices, because it's all different when it comes to the game. What happens in the off season oftentimes does not translate to what happens in the regular season, because it's a whole different ball game.
Right. Everything is nice and hunky-dory. It's the offseason. I get the positivity. But at the same time, I got duped. And when I say that is when I was an actual player. We had this guy in shorts and T-shirt. I forgot his name. And he looked phenomenal. Matter of fact, I think he went to Auburn. Safety. I said, oh, this guy, he looks like he's going to be all right. Man, we got out there and back. I was like, uh-oh. Red flag, red herring. This is not true. I mean, he was a draft pick, too, so it can happen, and you just don't know until they're actually in the game. Things are moving a lot fast. I think, can't underrate that, and some guys adjust, some guys don't. That's why it's an unpredictable measure, and when you see guys go in the later round, Brock Purdy's, quintessential that right now everybody knows, and even reading the book there with the, Shanahan. So you just don't know, and that's why it's unpredictable. Let alone Shador could be a great player. He could still not be very good. Right. Nobody really knows. So, you just wish the guys the best of luck, and then hopefully when they get the opportunity, they seize it and they grow and they continue with the confidence that is needed to play in this game. And there's going to be a time everybody's going to go through. There's going to be an aha moment is, I don't know if I can be what I thought I can be. It's going to happen.
I will say, as far as how I've kind of viewed this quarterback room without Cam, we talked about this a lot of time over the course of the offseason about how you want your young quarterback to have certain level of competition behind him to push it. And I do think that this quarterback class or quarterback room behind Cam Ward can challenge and push him in different ways in different areas of the game. And so I do think that there is some benefit to having Will Levis, and it sounds like the Tennessee Titans view it the same way, because they, for what they say, I mean, obviously they could be lying, but they have told us that they had no interest in, did not seek any trades of Will Levis during the draft. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But there wasn't a lot of in-player trades anyway, but the one that was Sam Howell. So, someone probably came calling, and maybe they just hung up the phone. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's what they said, and I do kind of think that at this point, this is the best situation for now for the Tennessee Titans to have Will Levis and Brandon Allen with Cam Ward to push him a little bit on the field and then guide him a little bit in the film room. He may not need any of that, right? He seems like a very self-motivated individual regardless. But it's always good to have someone that can go out there and sling the ball just as far as you can, just as fast as you can, maybe not as accurately, but have that guy with that experience. And then I do think that Will Levis will eventually be traded in the offseason, just like Malik Willis was.
Yeah, or in the preseason.
Yeah.
And I actually agree with that whole premise in that, the quarterbacks all bring different things to the table, whether it's in the meeting rooms, with their practice ability, to Will Levis and his traits.
Yep.
I think he could stack up against anybody, and I mean it seriously, on his traits. He has a big arm. He can throw with the best of them.
And
so
practice can sometimes make you look good, too.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, it can push him against Cam. May not be able to make some of the throws that he can, and vice versa.
Right.
So that hints then the cream of the crop rises to the top. So hopefully it all works in Cam's favor to get on the field sooner than later. I mean, when you're the first pick, everybody in the locker room knows he's going to be on the field at some point in time.
Well, I mean,
so why not just sooner? Especially when we were 3-14. Like, what do we have to lose at this point?
Right.
The whole objective of this team, like I said about all the draft picks, it really doesn't matter a hill of beans except Cam Ward. because he's going to dictate and can determine if you're going to win some games or lose them, and we need to get him up to speed as soon as possible.
And listen, to be honest, you said that everybody kind of knows, well, he's the number one overall pick. He's the guy. If you go back and listen to, if you missed it, if you go back and listen to Chig's presser today, his answers pretty much sounded like, well, Cam's the quarterback. He's like QB1. And it's nothing to hide or shy away from, and it's not some big secret or anything, but, he pretty much just said it right there. So for me, all the people who are still trying to either make the Will Levis Cam Ward competition a thing, quote unquote competition, a thing, or worried that, this team is, holding on to Will Levis and it's going to cause a locker room dissension. If you're ever thinking about any of that, just remember and anchor yourself in the fact that Cam Ward was drafted number 1 overall. And how many times have we seen the number 1 overall draft picks ride the bench?
Not here recently, man. And sometimes
maybe they need to, but
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But in this case, where the Titans are at, nah, and I think, and you say that was always weird to me. Like, oh man, Will Levis, it's not going to be a good luck. First and foremost, Will Levis has a lot to lose too.
Yeah.
Guess what? Oh, they can blackball you in this league.
Yeah, he can't go in there disrupting.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen. And first of all, the dynamics of quarterbacks anyway, whether who's starting or who's the backup, they rely on one another to continue to grow and do well in games because they see some things that maybe they don't see in game. So, players help other players, especially that position. I mean, which is really weird when everybody knows, who's the starter and who's not. And then all of a sudden you rotate. Now this guy starts 4 or 5 games, the other. And it's almost like they're still best friends. It's like they're brothers. So it's really weird. But they have an interesting dynamic in that room. So I don't see Will Levis, even though he's a heck of a competitor. Guess what he has to look at it is, I'm improving for me, whether I'm here or somewhere else. Or sitting on the bench this at the beginning of the season.
Right.
Guess what?
Because there's still a trade deadline.
Right, exactly. And he may feel like, oh, as soon as I get my shot, I'm get to show. Maybe he gets nicked up in a game, or maybe he gets nicked up, has to miss a game, Cam, and then he gets his shot.
Well, think of how many times we've heard, look at it this way. Remember when Ryan Tannehill said it's not his job to be a mentor to Malik Willis, and everybody kind of blew that out of proportion a couple of years ago? They still work together. Right. They still were able to get along and all this kind of stuff. And think of how many times it's Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. It didn't disrupt the locker room. It never became an issue with any of those situations. At the end of the day, everybody knows they have to look out for their own best interest, but their own best interest is to be a good teammate. Because you never want to be known as a terrible teammate or a terrible presence in the locker room, because that stigma carries with you no matter where you go and what the situation actually is.
That actually happened. I saw it live with Chris Chandler and Steve McNair. And McNair didn't play really too much at all in the beginning. And Chandler wouldn't even speak to him. I mean, it was really weird. And then, we were at a point where we were, at that 8-8 type. So it didn't affect us, but at the same time, we knew what was going on. And then he went on to the Falcons, took him to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, isn't that crazy how all that works? When we come back, we'll talk more about the Tennessee Titans draft and talk about these round 4 prospects. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not. People are really tired of that stuff. So if you have ever come upon unreliable vehicle repair shops, come on over to Eurofix. And Eurofix turn unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready, so you don't have to stand around waiting all freaking day. And Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. And that's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of moolah. Money, by the way. And why would you want to do that? Well, at Eurofix, reliable also means 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So make sure you call ahead, as your loaner cars are very, very popular. So if you're tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that will be Eurofix. Family owned for 26 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine sent you.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all four season garage doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Of course, we have the F&M Bank chat on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, wherever you get your Zone TV. And there is a comment in here, and maybe it's a little, sometimes we get trolls, Blaine. So I don't know if this is a for real statement or not, but it did prompt us to have a little discussion off air. And it says from Steve Lamb, who thought Quinn Ewers was Troy Aikman, by the way. The problem, Zach, is that Levis is a psycho. It's like having Steve Stifler in there. It will throw off the team's ability to build a great locker room mentality. And that last line is really what I want to focus on. Not really Levis's part in a locker room, but this idea that a locker room mentality feels very fragile for fans. Like they think that the smallest of things or the smallest disagreement can disrupt a whole locker room.
Yeah, well, they're entitled to their opinion. I mean, I don't even know why they come to that conclusion. All I need to think about is I think a lot of people can't relate to actually athletes because they think it's so different. It's just like an office dynamic. You bring somebody else in, they're hiring to take your job, but they say, oh, train him to take your job. And then you go, man, he's not even qualified. But guess what? You got to train him. And then guess what? He's taking your job and you're going to go back and do what you were doing. So it's the same dynamics. You can't go into that thinking in a negative light that that's going to destroy the whole office. Yeah,
right.
So that it's not like that. I don't.
Unless he's going in there just swinging, taking swings at people. It's just.
It's fascinating because some people do buy in and believe that. Now I get why they think maybe it's a weak locker room as far as leadership. But just because another guy comes in to compete with another guy, nobody's saying that about Xavier Woods and
right.
Winston
I was exactly about to say that.
It's the same thing.
Nobody's saying it about Femi Oladejo and Arden Key.
Or a gunner with Chig.
Yeah.
I mean, so we can go around this whole narrative, and that's what I think most players think it is it's things to talk about because.
And Will
some
Levis
people
hasn't
think
given us the reason to think that he is this guy.
Right. He's never showed any sign besides he's a blue collar hard worker, and when he gets out there, he kind of gets in his own head. That doesn't mean he's a psycho, really.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
I mean, not in a sense of that he's going to come in and disrupt the locker room. He's never. In fact,
nobody's ever
let's
said
go
he's a
back
bad
to let's go
teammate.
back to facts. Let's go to facts here real quick. And I can't believe you guys got me defending Will Levis. Let's go back to facts. Will Levis went to Kentucky, immediately voted team captain.
Right.
Does that sound like a psycho that's going to disrupt the locker room to you?
Absolutely not.
I just don't get this idea that this stuff disrupts the locker room. Everybody thought the Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis was going to be bad for the locker room, and it affected nothing in the locker room. And we ended up not talking about it.
And then he took the job.
Yes.
Well, that would have fractured the locker room, too.
Yeah, and that didn't. You know why? Because they won.
Yeah.
And to be honest, to me, that is the most important thing. I talked about this on our mega cast on Saturday on Football and Other Efforts when we were going through the everyday 3 picks. So we had a lot of time to talk about a lot of different things. And it went back to the Femi Oladejo conversation where I said that, you don't have to sacrifice production in a rebuild. Because the case that was being made to me was that, hey, we're going with Femi Oladejo because he's got upside and he's a great locker room guy. Well, that's fine. But that means that you're saying that you're going away from a production guy, and maybe Landon Jackson's a butthead that we don't know about. But Landon Jackson, for everything that we have heard, is a great guy, great leader as well. So why can't he bring production experience and that to the locker room? Why do you have to choose this? But all that to say, it doesn't matter how many good culture, nice guys that you bring in. Losing is losing. Winning can hide a lot of things and fix a lot of things and be the Band-Aid in times of need, but you do kind of need divas across the board because a lot of the time your divas or your knuckleheads are some of the best players in the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think that's what they're talking about. They're building a culture where you got high character guys who can then build this thing. And then when they do bring in these high-level players that have some form of character issues, that they need their athleticism, then they can now, hence, control whenever they get out of line. There's no way we would have won without some of those uncharacteristic, bad character guys. We had them on our team, but guess what? We held them in check. You have to have leaders at every position group to make sure that doesn't happen. And then you got a leadership committee on the team. So I think it's a little overrated. Ultimately, everybody's out there trying to win, and they're trying to get paid, and they're trying to, get a Super Bowl. Everybody has their own personal objectives. Long as it's within the team objective, I think no one in the locker room is going to have an issue with anybody.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's really what's going to boil down to. Now, maybe, outside, Will Levis may go to whatever girl he's dating at the time, vent, He may vent with his buddies on a golfing thing. I mean, that's what we do, right? I mean, like, you have other sounding boards to vent through to not bring it into the locker room. Because at the end of the day, the way I understand it, Blaine, is that the locker room is all about ball. And and you guys are all fighting for one common goal. That's why it's called a team. And everybody's trying to get that Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, every guy has their own personal off-field, and you get close to certain guys and you confide in them. And I'm not going to say in a locker room it's all about ball. I cannot say that actually when you're not in the meetings it's really healthy for you to just have common talk and everything else. So it's not like that where it's rigid, like, you can't talk about anything about ball. I think, now these guys, especially, this generation of players, I think you do need the relief and distraction of ball until it's time to be serious and it's a place and time to do everything. That's what it has to be about. It's no different than when you go to school. Hey, when the bell rings, you go out of class, right? Does the bell still ring? You get out in the hallways, that's the time to talk, but it's not the time to talk when you're sitting in the classroom. It's no different than on an NFL team. It's really not. I don't. What's only different is that these guys get paid a lot of money and they get paid to entertain and go out there and do something that most people have never gotten a chance to do. That's the only thing that's different.
Right.
Yeah, that's the it.
So I want to talk about this best player available and all this stuff when it comes to what happened in the second and third round. In fact, Chad Brinker this morning was on the Buck Rising show, and he actually was asked about best player available and all that kind of stuff. So he had an interesting answer, and it was very layered. And I want to make sure that we play the entire clip in full because he had a lot of interesting things to say, and I want to talk about it as well.
Yeah, a lot is being said about best player available, and I kind of want to maybe just shed some light on that from a general standpoint.
Please.
When it comes to the best player available, that's our philosophy, right? Every building takes different factors into consideration as they build their board, and for us, number one, can he play? So we got to go to the tape. We got to see, can this guy play football? And the second thing you look at is you look at their physical and athletic qualities. Do they meet our standards for height, weight, and speed at the position? Are they the type of athlete that we're looking for? And then number three, you look at the personal character. You look at the football character. Are they wired right? Do they love the game of football? And then what we mean by loving the game of football, that is loving Monday through Saturday. There's some guys that love to play on Sundays or love to play on Saturdays, but they don't necessarily love all the work that you got to put in throughout the week. So we want guys that are willing to, that love the weight room, that love the film room, that are just gym rats. And then there's a medical component to this that affects our draft board. And then ultimately there's a projection part of this where we as scouts are projecting from our instincts, but also there's some data and looking at history and using the analytics to see what that projects. And then ultimately there's a value piece of this as well. Premium players at premium positions with premium picks. There are just certain positions on the field that impact the outcome of games more than others. And you got to draft those premium positions higher in the draft because they're just not going to be available later. So that's like a general overview of best player available. So it can be different for every team. But as we went into this, that's kind of, there's a lot more that goes into it than just that. But that's a general sense that when we go through our process of building a draft board and looking at our roster and understanding, I think pro scouting acquisitions is an area where you can fill needs. The draft is where you build your football team, the core of your football team. So that's why we did what we did in the free agency period. It didn't matter if Cam Ward was going to be the quarterback, which, I think back then we were like, this could be. I don't care if it was Cam or Will Levis or whoever it was going to be our quarterback. We had to fix the offensive line. We had to address that, and that's why we attacked it the way we did.
I thought that provided a lot of insight, and I do think that some of the stuff he said, I think, can clearly translate to some of the prospects they passed on, some of the prospects they drafted. Because what's interesting about this, and I didn't pick it up on the first time he said it, but loving Monday through Saturday. A lot of players can love Sunday, but love Monday through Saturday. When he talks about loving football character, are they wired right? And the reason I bring that up is I remember that almost exact line being a con and question and concern about Luther Burden. And I know Easton was, and it's not from Easton, it was from an anonymous executive, and now I kind of wonder if that anonymous executive was Chad Brinker. But it was, I remember Easton was here on 3HL a week before the draft, and he said, I would not expect the Tennessee Titans to be interested at Burden at 35. Like, if he was there at 35, he's likely going to be there after 36 if the Titans were to draft 35. And I don't know. I mean, maybe they got it wrong with Luther Burden because, like you said, sometimes you need that knucklehead that shows up on Sunday. But from everything that he said, they build the board and rank their players based on a myriad of things. Can you play? Then physical and athletic qualities. Then the personal and football character, medical component, projection. And then they put a value on premium positions. And I don't know. The projection and the position that Femi Oladejo plays, that kind of makes it seem like they had Femi ranked really high on the board because they have a high projection. But, man, that seems very risky to go projection over production.
Well, I mean, he only played 10 games, so he's not going to have the productions everybody else. I think what they believed in, they saw him continually grow and get better from game to game, moving to another position. He had all the traits, long arms, great get-off explosiveness. Now, does he need to continually get pass rush moves? Because it seemed as though he didn't have too many, but he had strong hands. You could see how he could jolt some of these offensive linemen. So they go, I think he can. And if we don't take him now, we're probably not going to be able to get him later. He's the best of the bunch. I know all the other ones. I think I liked all of them, especially Jackson from Arkansas. But he did have the 2 ACL tears. See, and some, you know.
And so that would play into the medical component of all this.
Right. So it depends on what he was saying to me is, why do you sometimes pick some orders of why you pick a player and why sometimes you don't? And that's the part he's not going to explain here because Winston had an ACL tear, and I know that was probably his only major injury. But at the same time, are you afforded time to do that? And they think they are. And he projected to be probably a first-rounder next year if he would have stayed. He had 2 more years of eligibility. A really good player in 2023 and 2024. You know, it was not a lot to see because he got injured early. So, you know, sometimes they say we won't get a better player, and he's already on the road of recovery. And the way they do ACLs now, guys come back sometimes better. So that's when they made a calculated risk where Jackson, they felt like 2 of them, DN, premium position, cannot do. Mm-hmm. You need dependability.
I mean, from everything they've said here, it makes sense why they went Femi Oladejo. I mean, I always thought it made sense. But let me ask you this, because it's kind of where I want to ask the fans.
I mean, it still was a reach. Now, if you go around and ask all teams or scouts like where they have him rated, I don't think they had him this high because I don't think they were looking down the road. I think they're looking at the now, depending on what your team situation is. And so if Fermi says that now with that kind of pick, that they believe this is a 2 or 3 year window where we're going to grow into being a really good team. Yeah. And this guy in 2 or 3 years is going to be a really good player. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me, it's not exactly the same, but it kind of reminds me of the Derek Morgan pick. You know, Derek Morgan obviously was a first-round pick, and there's a lot of not similarities between their games and everything. But it reminds me of like, well, Derek Morgan, he didn't really have a lot of production, but eventually he turned into a productive kind of leader kind of guy for this team, and that's what they're kind of, it feels like that's what's going to be. Yeah. I'm not saying that, you know, anything other than that, really, to be honest with you.
Right.
But
well, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I mean, if he gets 4 to 5, sacks this year, that'll be really good.
That's a win for the team.
Right. And then as he goes on, then the second you start seeing progression, he gets to 8. And then now that third year when it all starts coming together with all the different pass rush moves, I'm sure he's a hard worker. They've looked all into all that. And now it's about, can he put it all together?
And that's what you hope it all becomes quicker. But this is a and listen, I know you guys don't want to hear this for a second round pick at a premium position, but if he eventually gets there, he eventually gets there. Yeah. And I know everybody's going to want it to be quicker, right? I mean, he's going to have
expectations are going to be high.
Yeah. And they should, but we also have to understand that we know right now, this is your warning. Femi Oladejo is a project. And now he may be a complete pass rusher quicker than we expect. But this could take 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 seasons. You hope it doesn't. And we don't want it to. I mean, obviously, because this team is desperate for pass rush, but this could take 2 or 3 years. But if it ends up working, it ends up working. And you just hope. So, like, I was kind of looking at the board, and I know that this probably is not a fair way to look at it, and a lot of people don't like revisionist history, but I went and found a couple of the guys that we talked about through our prospect profile process. And I wanted to see, what if we went wide receiver, edge, then safety instead of edge, safety, wide receiver. And so I put out a poll. I called these guys to cover 2 dudes. But like Trey Harris or Jalen Noel was there at 52. So let's say you went with one of them. We both like Trey Harris. Let's say we went Trey Harris. Then there's Josiah Stewart of Michigan, Savion Jones of LSU. Let's go Josiah Stewart because he was the higher ranked player. But he provides you just as much as Femi Oladejo with more experience and everything at 82. And then at 103, instead of Chimere Dike, you go Lathan Ransom or Malachi Moore. That to me seems like a little bit better value and more bang for your buck going wide receiver, edge, and safety rather than edge, safety, than wide receiver.
We had this debate before because remember at first I was like, oh, you got to go edge. And then when we realized, that the ends that go in the second round typically don't turn into 10-sack guys.
Yeah.
And so then I said, well, I'm all in with the receiver. And that's just history. Doesn't mean it can't be supplemented and done differently depending on each year's draft. So if you want to do the if, with, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Would you rather?
They could have traded their first round pick and got numerous picks and then traded back in next year to get the quarterback they wanted.
So
when it's a better quarterback draft.
Well, let's ask you about that. What do you think about that report? The report came from PK, and he said that it was of course, swap first
this
year.
JD yesterday.
Yeah, first round pick next year. But we got the other picks. So it's a first round pick next year, second round pick next year, and the second round pick this year. So you would have got 3, 34, first next year, second next year. That's a good value. But is that worth those particular picks worth Cam Ward if you have that much conviction?
So they would have two first rounds.
So they would have had
a second round.
They would have had the first round next. These besides the pick swap.
Right.
Okay, so let's remove the pick swap. They would have got a first next year, a second this year, and a second next year. So they would have got those 3 additional picks by moving back to 3, and maybe you take Abdul Carter at that point.
Well, I think the tell of the tape of why they did what they did is they probably felt like we'll never be back in this position again to choose, and we'll get the best quarterback on the board.
And then because then you're going to have to give up all those picks pretty much to go get a quarterback next year too. Like you're really not going to have anything extra other than the possibility of having a better quarterback. But we don't know if those quarterbacks next year are going to be as good as Cam.
Yeah, well,
that's the other thing is like you get all those picks, then you still don't have a quarterback, and you don't have a team until you really don't have a quarterback.
Well, one thing I learned from which was surprising because when they took McNair, we had signed Chris Chandler in free agency, and I was stunned because everything says we were going to draft Kevin Carter. I think it was the 3rd pick, and it was no doubt it was a no-brainer. And then it comes to find out, Floyd Reese comes out and says, you never pass up a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
If you think he can be a franchise quarterback, even if it's going to take a couple years, because he said we're not playing him this year. There's some development there, but the skill sets are all there. Then you take them. And that was funny because he ended up getting both guys. 5 years later, he got Kevin Carter because he signed him for the Rams. So he felt like he won all the way around because he got the player he coveted and he got his franchise quarterback.
So in a few years, they'll have Cam Ward franchise quarterback and Abdul Carter in a free agency is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Bold prediction there.
Bold prediction. I like it. But I do agree, like in the sense, because I know that it's like, why didn't you take the picks? Well, you take the picks, then what if all the quarterbacks suck next year and you don't have them as highly ranked as Cam Ward? Now you're giving up all the picks you just got to go get one of those quarterbacks because guess what? You still need those quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it's like you have tangible, visible evidence, according to them, in their process, that Cam Ward is their franchise quarterback. Mm-hmm. Once you have that conviction, nothing else matters to me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how fans need to look at it. Nothing else matters once you have the vision. Now, he's still got to live up to it. You better hope and pray for your all's job security that he lives up to it. But at the end of the day, I will never fault a team that has conviction for getting their guy and turning down other offers, because that's what you got to do. You got to find you very rarely, unless you luck into building the best team ever, a quarterback always will matter most to your success, to sustained success in this league.
Great
And
point.
that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll talk more about the draft and talk about Io Manor, Chimere DK, almost got it, Chimere DK, and Gunnar Helm. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. And, of course, we have the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. Just real quick, I have to say, Tyler Lockett was not, I don't think, technically scheduled, but I guess this kind of sounded like at the beginning he wanted to come up to meet everybody, introduce himself and all this kind of stuff, and had no clue. First off, it's a tremendous presser in and of itself. I mean, just an entertaining presser. But, like, I look at it and I go, he said that he was a Titans fan. And then he started, you kind of like, oh, were you really a Titans fan? And then he starts naming, like, games and players and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, that dude is a Titans fan.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, especially when he said that his favorite player was Cortland Finnegan because he got to fights a lot. Loved it. I was like, yeah, that's my guy right there.
The Kenny Britt.
He talked about his dad. I think his dad played like wide receiver, maybe for the Chiefs. I think, if I can recall.
Kevin Lockett. He played at Kansas State and played for the Chiefs and a few other teams. Kevin Lockett.
Yeah, so I didn't know. That's kind of what he referenced, maybe.
Yeah, I guess Kevin Lockett, last season that he played was 2003 for the New York Jets. Mm-hmm. So he said that as soon as that was over, he was looking for a team. And I guess at that point, you guys were on the rise, one of the premier teams in the NFL around 2003. So I guess he ended up just liking you guys. And he talked about Vince Young and all that kind of stuff as well.
That era of players. Yeah, man. Yeah. 'Cause he won the national championship. He thought he was going to just be the best thing. Rookie of the year and all that. They had a great crew of guys, great players on that team. Man, whew. Yeah, I thought they were going to be able to do something there, but it didn't work out because the quarterback didn't work out.
Yeah,
that is true. Mad about all the other guys.
That ever since that Vince Young didn't work out, really provided some dark moments for the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, man.
I mean, it got really dark, and now we had some great moments. I mean, we got Ryan Tannehill. There's the I'll never forget the Detroit win here when Tennessee Titans beat Detroit, and Jake Locker, orchestrates that drive. Nate Washington's catching the ball all over play. Because, everybody, you hear thousands of stories from people that were in attendance that their wives or made them leave or they left. And then they hear all the fireworks going while they're stuck in traffic. And I'm just sitting there having a great time watching this team come back and win. Yeah. Didn't have a lot of those for a long time, a lot of those moments. But that was one of my favorite moments right there. But, I did say... and I think Mike Herndon put it best, the Tyler Lockett presser just seems a little too good to be true because we're so used to getting these 30 and over wide receivers on the wrong end of their career, and then they don't produce sometimes. So hopefully Tyler Lockett's different. And again, he talked about culture. That's my job is to bring the coach's culture to reality. And so now... they've really been talking up this culture thing, and I don't know if it's because of all the negative press about the culture situation. There were things that were talked about in media, not necessarily on this show, but other shows and stuff about where the culture is lacking, these players are giving up and all this kind of stuff. And they've kind of course corrected, I guess, in the sense of how they've kind of approached this offseason. But now you can't hide behind that, right? I mean, like that can't be an excuse. If you deemed it an excuse, it can't be an excuse anymore. The offensive line, last year, in their actions this year, made it seem like the offensive line was an excuse. Well, you went and invested in the offensive line. That can't be an excuse anymore. You kind of said that the quarterback's play was an excuse. Okay, well, you got the number 1 overall pick and got the number 1 quarterback in this draft. That can't be an excuse anymore.
Oh, it will be.
Well, it can't.
Well,
it can. Okay, let me say.
Because he's a rookie.
Yeah, it
so
can,
he gets a
but
fresh
it shouldn't be. Yeah, it can, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah, he's going to throw one of the balls to Jackson in the stands, man. I mean, they're going to be like, what are you doing? I should have thrown it away. Jackson needed a football.
Yeah.
But I would love a football.
Would you like a Cam Ward football?
Absolutely.
Maybe we can get you one. We get you a signed one, little fella over behind the glass.
He was making fun of us, by the way, because we coordinated our pink shirts today.
I just heard I didn't get the memo.
We told him, but he didn't listen.
He said that he would look like the Pepto-Bismol mascot if he wore the pink shirt.
Yeah. So he said no.
But to be honest, we did not coordinate this. We're just so in sync as radio partners that we just knew that today was Pink Day.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, but going back to the excuse part, it does not seem right now like Brian Callahan doesn't have real excuses to latch onto. It is, to me, put up or shut up time when it comes to this entire staff putting a product on the field that screams NFL competitive. Not what we got last year. We got an NFL team, but it didn't really feel as competitive as it should be. I don't care. Listen, I care about wins and losses, don't get me wrong, but it's got to be competitive football week in, week out in this NFL world if you want to have sustained success as a franchise.
Oh, no doubt about that. I mean, they got to be competitive. But at the end of the day, okay, you could, have a bad day and you still say, okay, how do they respond to that? Mm-hmm. You always, even in our 13-3 years, we'd have a stinker. It's just almost impossible. But when you're a young team trying to grow, you want to see them progressively get better, and it all starts with the quarterback. But you want to see all these guys get developed, and you want to see if the coaches are actually developing these guys, or are they taking it in? Are they believing in it, and it's producing on-field, on-game day? And that's the part we can't predict, so we shall see. I mean, I think winning games, as long as you win more than 3 games, I think, and that's pretty much attainable. You got to be able to do that. I mean, so if you win 5, 6, 7, okay, now we're making progress and guys are getting better. And then what will they look like the next year? And then let alone your quarterback going into his second year. So that's kind of how I looked at it. I'm going to look at this season. The expectations, okay, you say is high and there's no more excuses. Well, the excuse is, okay, we're going to grow together and we're going to get better together, coaching staff and players at the same time. So let's see if that actually happens. And if it doesn't happen, then they're going to course correct and go in a different direction with staff and players. That's just, there's no way around it.
I mean, there's a lot of players that were injured last year or played through injury that have big contracts that need to live up to those contracts. They got players that they signed to big contracts that probably didn't really necessitate those big contracts. Mm-hmm. And now they got to live up to it. There's a lot of things that the players got to live up to on their end. Mm-hmm. But again, I look at it and I go, staff.
Well, if Moore Jr. gives up 10 sacks, how you feeling?
Well, it depends on how the rest of the offensive line look. I can live with one guy giving up 10 sacks if the other guys are giving up like single digits. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
I have very low, I guess I'd say low standards for offensive line play.
We're scarred over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. So, like, if I just get, like, to the 20th ranked team, because I think they were 28th last year, 32 a couple of years before. If I just get to the 20th ranked team, I'm probably pretty happy with how it looks.
The bar is low,
the bar feels, it's probably is too low, but like if he gives up 10 sacks, but J.C. Latham only gives up 2, I'm okay with that.
Well, I'm not. They paid him too much money for it. Like, hey, man, we got to turn that thing up, man. Let's turn that down.
I also expect him to give up that much. I guess he is meeting expectations. I know there are other people who are all about some Dan Moore in the fan base.
What has he averaged over his 4 years so far?
Oh, man, I'll have to look that up.
I think it is around 8.
Yeah, it's around 8 or 9 or something like that. I mean, he is a guy that has, he gives up sacks.
Oh, man.
And so, I just kind of expect it when I look at it. He's given up 34 sacks over his career, and he has started 2,645 pass blocking snaps. So he averages roughly around 7.5 to probably 8. So, 34 sacks over 4 years is 8.5. So, yeah, I would take the over. You didn't pay for the over. You paid for the under, but I'd take the over if I was a betting man.
7 sacks.
7 sacks. That's the limit. That's the lowest he would have allowed in any of his seasons was 7 sacks.
Well, now he's paid, so he better get to that number.
Yeah.
You got to be at your best.
For sure. I mean, this whole offensive line, they even said, that's what Brinker said, right? He said, hey, we knew the offensive line sucked, so you saw us invest heavily in Kevin Zeitler, Dan Moore. We put J.C. Latham over to the right side. We think this is the best collection of offensive linemen we got. They spent money or spent a draft pick on Jackson Slater. They brought in a few free agent pieces to compete for the center spot, just in case Lloyd Cushenberry can't go. All this to say, this offensive line has to deliver, right? Because also if this offensive line that you guys invested in doesn't deliver, what does that say about the coach, too? Because we do have vaunted Hall of Fame coach Bill Callahan, right?
I never.
I'm just saying we do.
He was
That's
the
what
best.
everybody
I don't know
says.
about Hall of Fame level, but they said he was the best in the league. And
Jeff Stoutland's the best in the league.
I don't know if that is true or not, but two of his own guys quit on him pretty much and got cut. So I don't know.
So whatever deity you pray to, get to praying about this offensive line. Make sure that it all comes together.
He can't get to everyone, but at the same time, you got to meet them in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think some coaches don't try to meet them in the middle, and they get my way or the highway. And there still are some coaches like that. And if I would want to make a guess, Bill Callahan's like that.
When we come back, we'll talk more about this draft class. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
That's not
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
It is 2:02. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Jackson Williams. Brian Callahan spoke to the media at St. Thomas Sports Park earlier this afternoon and described how the team will look to align their new rookie wide receivers.
As far as like what spot they'll play at, I think Elix got a flex at kind of really X or Z for us, but I think that's flexible. Where I think Chim has an ability to he's really a kind of a three-hole player. He's got a lot of flexibility, so we're going to have to find what suits him the best. I do like the flexibility they both have. I think they both have ability to do multiple things in the offense.
Titans rookies will hit the field for rookie minicamp as it starts next week, running May 9th through the 11th. In NFL news, the Buffalo Bills and wide receiver Elijah Moore have agreed on a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. Moore was drafted by the Jets in the second round of the 2021 draft and has spent the last 2 seasons with the Cleveland Browns. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Don't forget the installs tomorrow night. Over at the Analog at the Hutton Hotel, you can hear Greg Cosell, Brian Callahan, and Buck Rising break down plays from all of the draft picks that the Tennessee Titans have selected in the 2025 NFL Draft. Bill Callahan has his own set of plays that he's brought into that he wants to dissect about Cam Moore. But the real main event is that before the show, 6 p.m. in the hallway while you guys are trying to get into to Buck's show in the line, you're going to have in-line entertainment from Football and Other Efforts. Me and Stoney Keeley will be sitting out on the couch with speakers blaring, giving you our takes on the Tennessee Titans draft picks and everything going on with the Tennessee Titans. So tomorrow night, 6 p.m. is Football and Other Efforts. 7 p.m. is The Install with Greg Cosell, Brian Callahan, and Buck Rising. So make sure you guys go get your tickets for that. Blaine, do you care about NFL draft grades?
It's so unpredictable. I mean, the odds of you getting it all right. I mean, it's because it's about performance, but really, to me, that's when you can really judge. But, I mean, it's always fun to talk about your draft grades because, I probably 50-50 myself.
To be honest.
I mean, that's hard to say who's really going to be good or not in the league. What they were in college, absolutely. I mean, man, I look at the Titans draft. You would have to say they've done pretty good in this draft. If I was giving them a grade, if that's what you're going to ask me, I would probably give them a B minus.
That would be
I'm a hard judge.
I think that's where everybody is kind of at. So Rene Bujner, I'm going to say, I think he's French. At RNBWCV on Twitter, he compiles every year 24 evaluations of the top draft analysts. And, because everybody has to give their grades and all that kind of stuff. And he puts them into a GPA format. So the Titans had the 15th highest draft class by average grade with a GPA of, if I'm looking at this correctly,
a lot of people were giving them like an A.
3.12.
What does that mean?
So a 3.12 GPA. Translate that for us, Jackson. 3.12 GPA. What is that in B?
That's about a B average. Where
I'm not trusting your math skills. I want you to look it up
because I know I was a B student and I had a consistent 3-point-something GPA. Gotcha. So it's about a B average.
So I
did the same thing as an athlete.
They got a lot of B pluses and Bs across the board. They had 1 C by Ryan McChrystal of Sharp Football, and they had a D. And that's the only D by Thor Nystrom of Fantasy Life. Now, Thor Nystrom of Fantasy Life, I don't know how he uses it, but he was giving people. He was the only guy to give like several Fs to other teams. Nobody else gave 1 F to any team out of the 25 people, but he gave an F to the Chargers of all teams. If I'm looking at this correctly, maybe the Broncos, and then an F to the Detroit Lions as well. So like. He was a little harsher grader. I mean, he so it's best. But if you eliminated him, you'd be looking pretty good.
So what was your grade?
I think we ended up on the MegaCast. I think I gave it a B or a B plus.
Oh, okay.
And I think probably the Femi Oladejo pick is the one that just and that and the Chimere DK pick. Both of those really get me. Like I like Chimere DK. I don't like him at 103. I think he was a 6th round guy. Femi Oladejo. I like Femi Oladejo in like the 80s. I don't like him in the 50s. So like I look at it and I go, I think a B is probably being a little too negative on my end, but B plus. Like if I had to do something like
B minus for me. Until you see what these players turn into. I think they got scared. That's why I was asking you the flow of the draft because I wasn't watching the draft.
That to me, I always factor
did they
in
get
philosophy.
scared and like, he ran a 4.3. We won't be able to get him like at 136, so we'll take him first. Oladejo, or Alec, the kid from Stanford had issues with knee. Maybe he'll still be available. Probably will be. It will be a receiver of his ilk at that spot. And so maybe they thought go speed first and then get the possession guy, combat catcher type player, later, and he'll still be there. And it worked out. I don't know if that was their plan, but I could see how you could get, a little scary here. We need to get a vertical guy or, a guy you want to put in the slot and match up against some of these guys he can run away from.
A specific type.
Yeah.
That to me screamed like we wanted a specific type of player. Mm-hmm. We missed out on that specific type of player because we missed out on Jalen Noel, Kyle Williams, and Isaac Tesla. Like those 3 guys scream inside-outside experience, inside-outside versatility. Chimere DK does that at a lesser level than those guys, but theoretically, at least in college he did.
Right.
But that is what I think they were looking for was an inside-outside guy with speed because all those other 3 guys have that. They all had positional versatility. And when you look at a guy like Jalen Royals, who I was really high on, who everybody predicted the Tennessee Titans were going to pick in their day 3 mock drafts they put out that morning from Utah State, he's mainly an outside wide receiver. He could play inside, but he's mainly an outside wide receiver. Io Manor is mainly 89% of his career snaps have been outside, so he's not. But really
he's a bigger target, though.
He's a bigger target. Yeah. So I think that's why when you really look at, they were looking for that guy that could take the top off of the defense, even if we maybe didn't see it consistently in college. He has the ability to do it. He can also do end arounds, jet sweeps, be outside, be inside. He has the versatility, and they were looking for a specific type, and that just happened to be the highest player on their board in that pod, I guess you would say. That's how Coach Mack uses it.
Well, with his speed numbers and with what his production said in college, 783 yards. He's a punt returner as well. 42 catches. And I think that's what they thought. Versatility once again, but he brings a speed element, which I didn't see him play at 4.3. 4.3 is just a whole nother plane. He was in the SEC, and he is fast. Don't get me wrong. But 4.3 is 4.34. So that shows you how some of these guys can train for this straight line deal. I would say he was more of a 4.45 guy in game when I watched him play. He still was fast. I just wanted to see something that would jumped off the screen. Yeah. And I didn't see that. 4.3 is Tyreek Hill type, and that he didn't look like Tyreek Hill.
So those other 3 guys that I named that they missed out on because they went Femi Oladejo at 52, Jalen Noel, Kyle Williams, Isaac Tesla, those guys show, I think on tape, they show faster speeds
than their time.
Than their time, but also than Chimere DK. Okay. And also, I think it's also speeds getting out of your breaks. Getting out and changing direction.
Yes.
So there's a difference between being a straight line guy and then a fast guy that can get in and out of the breaks. And I think that's also where this whole thing is different, is that Kyle Williams, Jalen Noel, maybe not Isaac Tesla, but those other 2 guys, when getting out of their breaks or changing direction, are a whole nother speed compared to him.
Right, because here's a misnomer is that, oh, there's a speed guy, but most of those speed guys can't control their speed, that are straight line fast guys. They can't come out of their brakes. I remember Randy Moss, who's one of the fastest guys I've ever faced. He did not run certain routes just because he didn't understand his speed. Now, he was a young player. Eventually, he got there with running all the different routes, but in the beginning of his career, he was only running 2 or 3 routes, and he was so athletic and so big, so there was really no issue, and he just kind of evolved to that. So a lot of speed guys have problems coming out of their brakes because they can't control their speed. So what you're talking about is right on point.
Well, DK, I thought one of his biggest things his speed gets him into trouble sometimes, where he's trying to brake.
And
when
he
he's
can't
trying to get
stop.
in and out of his brakes, he can't
can't
stop,
do
and
it.
it's like you're
Can't
falling
contain it.
over your skis.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's the thing, like when you look at a player like Xavier Restrepo, right? Not a lot of speed. We know that. But he creates his own separation by his route running. Now, we'll see if that translates to the NFL. It's a lot different going up against the ACC and the NFL.
Well, I think that will.
I hope it does. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think what you got in between Xavier Restrepo and Chimere Dike is one wide receiver that can do one thing. If you combine them, you would have your Tyreek Hills, you'd have your Jalen Waddles and all that kind of stuff. Right now, you have these 2 wide receivers separated, so their games kind of have to meet in the middle, right?
And Brian kind of touched on that because he said, Elick is kind of more of an outside guy, and DK is kind of more the inside-outside. They're going to experiment with that and see how much he can handle as far as volume and understanding the plays and everything else. You want him to have success. So. Yeah, I think they know that. So they did a good job, Scott. I want to say this group is a solid group. Do we have superstars in this group? I'm not sure yet.
And I don't
think that's what this draft was either.
Well, and also I don't think
Cam Ward.
unless you drafted someone at 35 or 52, you weren't going to find superstars after that.
Right.
But you found what you found were solid contributors, you hope. When we come back, we'll get to your phones. I see you, PJ. We'll get to PJ when we come back after the break. We'll continue talking about Io Manor, Chimere DK, Gunnar Helm, and more when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Ever wonder how I keep my mojo? Well, hey, it's Blaine Bishop here, and if you're looking for the best tacos in town, you gotta check out Mojo's Tacos. They've got 3 amazing locations, including my favorite spot in Nolensville. And Mojo's Tacos is where the magic happens. Whether you're craving the mouth-watering carne asada, the delicious fish tacos, or their famous street corn, they've got it all. And don't forget to try their house-made salsa, and boy, does it pack a punch. And each location has a great vibe, perfect for the family night out or catching up with your friends. Plus, their friendly staff will make you feel right at home. So head on over to Mojo's Tacos and taste the difference. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Mojo's Tacos, 3 locations and 1 unforgettable experience.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. Just rocking out in here. And Jackson's making fun of me for putting my arms up in the air like I was at a rock concert.
Oh, my.
105 The Zone, Cover 2. And Blaine, I'm going to get to PJ in just a second. But I want to ask you a question. I just saw an email from Vols247.com. Hit my inbox and it said... title of it was Josh Heupel, Danny White discussed whether the Vols might hire general manager. Do you think that they say that they're okay with where they're at, but do you think they would hire me, or have I talked too much slander to be hired?
I think that's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a tough one.
But see, if they're,
I would be very objective.
If they are smart, though, they say we'll put him on our team. That way, now he can never talk about us.
Yeah, I can only talk about you.
Funny how that works out for some, but then others it doesn't.
Yeah. Listen, I would give it my all for
Jackson,
big origination.
He's like, no way, and you know what?
Hey, maybe they should hire me because I know what a winning championship football team looks like.
Really? Where was Alabama in the CFP last year?
Where were you guys when the championship game was going on? Same place Alabama was. Hey, listen, I'm just saying, I think I could do wonders for you guys. I think Josh Heupel and Danny White should consider it.
I would love for them to pull receipts from the show in your interview. That's what I want to see.
Big Orange Nation probably already has all the receipts somewhere, especially the Twitter people. They probably have all the receipts.
Well, I think this is going to become a thing, though, by the way, because a lot of the coaches aren't equipped, actually, the head coaches, to manage the entire roster now like this with the NIL deals. So that's why you see all these teams now hiring GMs. That is the thing. And matter of fact, I talked to an athletic director just yesterday, and he said this will become a trend.
Yeah.
And it was somebody out of state, too, by the way.
I think the biggest worry would be is that I would throw the bag to get Nick Saban as coach. So, I mean, Josh Heupel's obviously not going to hire me because I'm going to go get Nick Saban.
Oh,
but maybe Danny, as head coach. Let's get Nick Saban as head coach.
Yeah. And then
the reason he left Alabama is because there's a bunch of cheap asses.
Where does the power lie with the GM to the head coach, though? See, that is, you were there first. And then, are you hiring a GM to make sure y'all stay on the same page? I definitely wouldn't be hiring you because he would think you're going to go then hire.
Sure. I'd have to lie. Say, you can keep your job.
Well, I mean, they all do.
We'll evaluate everyone.
Whatever it takes to get the job, right?
Whatever it takes. Let's go to PJ and talk about the NFL draft. PJ, you're on Blaine and Zach.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are y'all?
Doing good. How are you?
You got it.
Good. Maybe Rand Carthon could come out of retirement, GM for the Vols. Who knows? Kidding. Super disappointed with our second pick. It's kind of like you guys said before. It's not the caliber of player. I feel the spot that he was picked at was a little rich. Especially when you think, about the guys that were still there in the third and fourth round, where you still could have gotten a premium wide receiver option, kind of like as a number 2 or 1B to Calvin Ridley, while they're kind of coming up in the ranks and definitely give Cam Ward a good solid target, aside from Restrepo and Helm and some of these other guys. And then, I just don't understand. I'm blanking on the thought process. Mike Green was there. Landon Jackson was there. Jack Sawyer was there. And the best that we could come up with was Oladejo. I mean, I understand he had a good Senior Bowl, but this was probably – I don't even know what his rank was among edge rushers in the class.
Wow.
So that's my thought process. I definitely think, receiver was probably something that would have benefited Cam Ward more on the front end, and we still could have picked up a very quality, if not, direct comparison to Oladejo in the third or fourth round. So I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
So he was the consensus position edge player 15th. So he's the 15th best edge rusher, 81 overall. So the edge class was like we have said, very deep and very good. And so to be the 15th best player at your position and still be in the top 100 just says volumes about the edge class, which again, though, speaks to the depth of the edge. But I think you bring up a good point, and I know he brought up Mike Green. Pretty sure I would say that Mike Green's probably was taken off their board, whether that's right or wrong, off the board because of his issues off field with sexual assault cases and stuff like that. The alleged sexual assault cases, I guess, to protect myself here. And then maybe you're onto something with Landon Jackson and the medicals. Maybe there was something in his medicals that they didn't like. You know, that's possible.
Two torn ACLs in a 3-year window, I think, kind of makes people nervous. And that was from high school to his first couple of years. So I think that might have scared. That's why I asked Coach Mack that, and I don't know if he really knew that. He may have, but he was like, probably not with the way that they, fix ACLs now. But to have two, and now a lot of guys come out, they've already had surgery. In my era, if you had surgery, that was like, oh, no, stay away. I mean, now the technology and everything and the doctors, what they can do is pretty phenomenal. So, but you just don't want to see a pattern of continually getting injured and getting cut on. And I think that's what it was. I believe that, too. I think this was a little high for me, but I see the potential of upside. I just wouldn't have spent my second round pick on it. I told you I would have went wide receiver.
Yeah, man, Trey Harris being there, that's a tough one to pass up. Like that's
where did he go? Who took him?
Trey Harris. Give me 1 second.
That's the Ole Miss kid, right? That went to Louisiana Tech that showed the route tree, but not at Ole Miss because they didn't, really.
Trey Harris ended up going to the Chargers, to the Los Angeles Chargers. They got Trey Harris, Ladd McConkey.
I love me some McConkey last year.
Oh, man. Jalen Noel, you'll see twice a year, so that'll be a good reminder for that pick. Jalen Noel, you'll see twice a year over at the Houston Texans.
Wow. And then we get Hunter twice.
You get Hunter twice a year.
With Thomas.
And Tyler Warren twice a year.
With the Colts.
That makes you a little, because you don't have that guy. I feel like that instills that sense of fear.
Yeah. They got blue chip players.
Yeah.
Right now, only blue chip we got was Cam.
Yeah, and that's listen.
Yeah, that's the quarterback.
That's a good blue chip to have. Mm-hmm. But again, man, you're not really striking fear.
That guy on this team should be an impactful player, and I don't even know if
I would highly. Here's how I would look at it. You got Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel went to the Texans. Obviously, Tank Dell.
I love me some Higgins.
And Tank Dell's obviously probably a little hurt, but you also have Nico Collins. So you got Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, and Jalen Noel there. Okay. That Houston Texans team is probably not very scared of Femi Oladejo. The Colts are not scared of Femi Oladejo. The Jaguars likely not scared of Femi Oladejo.
He may not even start. I mean, he
may not even start. But that's the thing is what I'm saying is like Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, one of those guys is starting.
Oh, yeah.
And one of those guys you're going to have to game plan for. None of those teams are coming in to game plan for your second round pick, but you're having to go and game plan for the second round picks of teams that you are facing.
Any our linebackers covering Warren for the Colts?
I know this is radio, so you should have seen my face.
They gave out Keith Bullock's number. I think they need to bring Keith Bullock back.
Yeah. Like,
hey, man, that guy is going to be a problem. I mean, a serious, serious problem, man.
I mean, it's not great. It's not a great situation for the Tennessee Titans. Now, listen.
Hunter and Thomas?
Yeah. And now, listen, they could screw the whole Hunter thing up because they're talking about letting him play both ways a considerable amount. So they could screw that up. So, and listen, I wanted to float this out there to you. Man, Travis Hunter spent the last 2 years in Colorado at that high elevation. Now he's going to Jacksonville. Humidity, lower sea level. I don't know. Maybe there was going to be something there.
But he is from Florida, right?
I believe he's from Georgia. So that not too far away.
Okay.
Not too far away. But, man, this is tough.
I think he was from Florida, but he went to high school in Georgia. I think I remember looking this up because he went to a high school out there, I think in North Gwinnett area. I forgot the name of the school, too. Man. But, Yeah, he was phenomenal. I didn't even know he played high school in Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, it's just no. Ryan says, "Don't forget, Nico Collins was a nobody before Stroud." No, he was not.
Yeah, he was a third
I wanted
rounder,
the Tennessee Titans, the third rounder or fourth rounder
from Michigan.
Michigan. I wanted the Tennessee Titans to draft Nico Collins, and Nico Collins was already trending in the right direction by the time that C.J. Stroud there. But that is also good news for a guy like maybe Chimere DK or Alec Iomanner, is that it took a little bit for Nico Collins, even with bad quarterback play, and hopefully these two guys don't. But it took a little while for him to get there.
It did.
In that spot, because he was, I know it doesn't look like it from stat-wise, but towards the end of his 22nd year, he was really starting to come into his own and be a focal point of this offense. Now, he did take off, obviously, in 2023 and 2024, but he was already trending in that right direction, if you guys remember those games in 2022.
Yeah, and he was on track to he was leading the NFL in receiving yards, too. He had like a hammy or something, and then he still was in the top, I think, finished in the top 5 or 10 in yards.
Yeah.
So, he's man, they're stacking, they're moving forward. They're still going to be fighting for the, AFC South, that's for sure. Man, dang.
It'll be real interesting to see how that works out. So I want to ask you a question. Alec Iomanner, Chimere DK, Gunnar Helm. What do you think is they're all round 4 picks. What is your expectation for a round 4 pick in terms of what you expect for them over the course of their rookie contract? Not just their rookie year, but their rookie contract.
Well, it depends on their opportunity. Just from a broad brush, I would say they are contributors in that they're rotational guys that play when you're talking about tight end and wide receiver. They rotate guys around Ridley to me, and they should be getting some action, whether it's coming in for Lockett, Van Jefferson, or whoever it may be, and to get some playing time and gradually starting building their confidence and showing that they can play in this league and be effective and consistent. And that's what, most of the coaches are looking for. So whether they're ready to be revved up at the beginning of the season, a third of the season, you got to see this happening with Tyler Lockett on there as well and see if they can contribute and how much. And then you give them more as they continue to grow in this league. And some may do it sooner than others. And I actually believe this group of guys, I think they will be partial players because of the nature of the positions and because they're going to get opportunities and because they got older guys ahead of them and they should get those opportunities being where they were drafted. Gunnar Helm may, push, you're going to laugh, push Chig in that.
I ain't laughing.
But because here's why I say push. Chig is in the last year of his deal. So if Gunnar outright beats him out, then that's a whole nother story. They may have 2 different roles with the team, too, by the way. One could be online, one could be offline. One's more of a inside route runner type guy. One's a less speed routes, run routes against, safeties and linebackers. So I think they can be utilized in the same sense. So, yeah, I think they will be just good, solid players where we'll say at the end of the season, we could see where this is going. These guys are going to be the starters next year.
We had talked about...
What do you think they will be?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So for me, when I look at a 4th-round pick, I'm looking for a guy that turns into a starter in one of the years.
Yeah.
So whether that's the first year, second year,
as that basis.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example. Is like what you're looking for. Everybody expects a 4th rounder to come in and immediately contribute right away.
Right. In some forms.
In some form, any special teams, whatever. I look at it as from the fact that, okay, over the course of this 4 years, he needs to become a full-time starter, whether that's in the 2nd year or 3rd year. At some of that point, these guys need to become your starters because you spent a pick on them like that. And so
Agree.
I look at a guy like Gunnar Helm, and I think that he has a very good chance of becoming tight end 1 this year. And if he does that, boom, that's good sign. Now, obviously he has to perform, but he did what he was supposed to do as a 4th-round pick. He came in and started. He took a job from an incumbent 3rd-round pick who has been starting for the last 3 years. That says a lot about what
he was
doing.
a 3rd-round pick?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought Chig was a 5th-round pick.
Was he a 5th-round pick? You're right. He is.
I don't know. I'm just
NPF was the third round pick.
Yeah, NPF was the 3rd round pick. Was he the 4th round pick? And Kyle Phillips was the 5th round pick.
I
yes,
just thought
that
he was
sounds right.
Yeah, he's going to look that up. But you took the job away from an incumbent starter for 3 years.
Yeah.
What you got?
4th round, 143 overall.
Okay, so
Maryland.
roughly the same spot.
Oh, okay.
So you look at a guy like Cole Kmet, who ended up starting. This has been a big comp for Gunnar Helm, has been Cole Kmet. He started 9 games his rookie year, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. If Gunnar Helm went for that, but ended up taking over the starting job by the end of the year, that's a good 4th round pick. And that's a guy that came in and contributed. Who out of the 2 wide receivers do you expect to take over where NWI left off? Because we have talked about that many times, that we're looking for the wide receiver to come in and pick up where NWI left off. And a lot of people would probably say Chimere Dike because he's the higher of the 4th round picks. But I think the role that Alec Iomanner is going to play and his size, I feel like he may be that guy that kind of picks up where NWI has left off, but someone has to pick up that slack.
Well, I would say Alec is more of an X, so that I would say him. But I'm not going to forget Lockett and Van Jefferson because of their experience. That's why I said if it was me and how I'm coaching them, I'm easing them into the lineup, rotating them. There is no you are the starter, you that, and then as you earn it as the season goes along with your opportunities, do you take advantage of them? If you don't, then you may end up standing beside me a little bit longer. And if you do, I'll continue to, hey, stay out there. You good. Because then that way you earn it, and you earning the trust of your coach and your teammates all at the same time. So I can't say somebody's going to go out here and just start at these positions in the 4th round.
I wouldn't expect any of them, except for Gunnar Helm, to start day one, barring injury.
Because it's somewhat of a hold there. We could say that, he started, but at the same time, there's opportunity there with a guy leaving. I got it. And you could say that if Winston shows who he is last year, he should be in the lineup too if he's healthy.
Yeah. Well, I look at it this way, talking about Iomanner and DK with Jefferson and Lockett. It sounds like to you, and I think I tend to agree with you, week 1, it's probably going to be Van Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, and Tyler Lockett out there.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Because they're the guys that are probably going to get all the first-team reps with your rookie quarterback.
Right.
So probably the highest chance to have chemistry would be those guys. But Iomanner could be maybe NWI, let's not say rookie year because he didn't get to start for a little bit, but 2nd year
or so
NWI in his rookie year. And you're looking at maybe DK being just kind of like a specialist that comes in, takes the top off the defense, gets a couple deep balls, and then he works his way feeling comfortable being in an offense like this, learning the ins and outs of the nuances of it. And maybe by next year, we're looking at these 2 guys. Okay, feeling pretty good about this wide receiver room with Calvin Ridley, year 3, year 2 with him, and then these 2 guys. Because the other guys, Van Jefferson and Tyler Lockett, are 1-year contracts.
Now, what you end up going to have, knowing that you're probably not a playoff team, is that by the end of the season, let's say 3 or 4 games left, you start seeing these guys are going to be the starters. And then they actually start or participate more than Lockett and Van Jefferson if they are where they need to be going. I think that's what they're projecting here. I think it's a great philosophy. You got your steadfast, proven guys who are good guys in this league who will help them come along, and they are proven in this league that they can play, and then you'll see if they can take it from them.
A lot of people still are Restrepo believers in the chat, Blaine.
Well, I don't know if Restrepo is better than Mason Kinsey.
Yeah.
I have been very consistent about it. I said he was a late-round pick. Based off what I saw, he just doesn't have the vertical speed. That's why I want him to slim down, and then he is quick enough. But I need to see more vertical speed out of him besides just lateral quickness, because they're gonna swallow him up pretty quick. He may get away from initially, but they're going to close on him fast. So that's the part I don't know until I see him. But until he's better than Mason Kinsey in my eyes, I got to see him on field at practice. then I just can't say
And
he's
remember,
better than Mason Kinsey.
He's going to have Tim Boyle and Brandon Allen throw to him. Mason Kinsey will likely at least have Will Levis thrown to him because Mason Kinsey will probably be in the second round. Like if you were looking at a depth chart, I would say that your backup slot receiver right now to Tyler Lockett would be Mason Kinsey.
And I'm sure there was a time, Jackson, you can help us out on this. When was a time that a player came on a team that was undrafted and you think he is going to be a contributor on a team?
Oh, my gosh.
Of the Titans. Let's just use the Titans.
I'm trying to think.
See, so that's what I'm saying is what people were saying this stuff. Now, we must not discredit these guys who are already in the league now.
Yeah.
Like, these guys made it for a reason. And guess what? Mason Kinsey got some grit to him now.
Yeah.
I watched him get better every year, and I know everybody goes crazy over Mason Kinsey, but until I think he's better than him and I see it, I can't say it. I'm not saying Mason Kinsey is some guy.
Yeah.
You know, he may not even make the team. But
when you're talking about carrying 6 or 7 wide receivers, that's going to be tough to find Restrepo room.
Over him, right?
Yeah.
They may, so I want to see what I see because guess what I did see? When they scrimmaged Tampa Bay and Minnesota and all these teams, Mason Kinsey, they couldn't guard that dude in the slot.
Yeah.
It was trouble. It was trouble.
It was like Tez Johnson at the Senior Bowl.
Trouble.
He had lots of cushion.
So
what you got, Jackson?
What about LeGarrette Blunt?
LeGarrette Blunt.
Yeah, but he got in trouble.
A long time ago.
He
though.
got in trouble, but he was a draftable player. Now, but he did go undrafted.
Stoney's just trying to keep Ojukwu mania alive. He keeps saying John Ojukwu.
Oh, Drew Bennett. Drew Bennett was.
But those were also like in the 90s.
Right. Well, he was.
Feels so long ago.
He was,
I know it was in the 90s,
a volleyball player who played quarterback and moved just like Femi moved to wide receiver senior year at UCLA. He was a quarterback. So that's why he was undrafted. Day one, Samari Roll goes, hey, man, Drew Bennett, he called him Sunshine, is the real deal. And I said, what? He said, hey, man, great athlete. Then I go over and I said, hey, man, so what did you do? He said, I was a volleyball player. Uh-oh, that tells me you can jump.
There you go.
That athlete. Uh-oh.
When we come back, we'll finish up this conversation. We'll get to some of your questions there in the chat. Of course, you can also ask questions. 615-737-1045 is the number. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop, Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy and nutrition, personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels, Jackson. So please check out their services at TOA.com. Yes, that's TOA.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. I am looking right now. I'm trying to effort to find a 5'9", even just 202 to 209 wide receiver that got drafted.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And because all I'm finding are running backs of that size. Like Cody Schrader last year was 5'9", 202. Xavier Restrepo's 5'9", 209.
That's what I said
with
yesterday.
short arms.
Yeah.
By the way,
So,
one of the shortest arms in the NFL.
Like a running back.
Yeah.
And most of those running backs eventually get to slot, but not at 205. Like you got to be in the 190 range.
I mean, this is just incredible. Man, I was about to say I almost got one, but then that was Javonte Williams, running back for the Denver Broncos, 5'9", 212.
But I'm interested to see him on field. He's going to draw me there because I want to watch him because, I feel like he should have got drafted based off of what he did in college.
Right.
But when you get in that 5th to 7th, you just never know.
Okay, we got one.
Who's that?
Amari Rodgers, Clemson wide receiver.
Oh, I remember.
In the 2021 NFL draft.
And watch this. I remember this guy. They moved him to running back in the NFL.
No.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. Yeah, they did. They moved him to running back, then they moved him back to wide receiver.
Oh, they may have done that. But he was, because isn't that the guy that just got signed by Jacksonville?
No, I don't think so. This guy was about 4.
No, I don't even know if this guy's even on a team.
No,
right
he's
now
not.
anymore.
He was about 4 or 5 years ago. I remember this guy.
Yeah, he's not on a team anymore.
Yeah,
Who am I thinking of? Diami Rogers.
But this
Diami
guy,
Brown.
But that's the dude, though, because he was a great college player.
Good college player. I know a lot of Titans fans liked him at the time. He was 5'9", 212 pounds, okay, at the combine. But he ran a 4.52, whereas Xavier Restrepo, who is 5'9", 209 pounds, ran a 4.8 something. And now I know that he has the quote-unquote ankle injury or hamstring injury. Oh, I pulled a hamstring, but that seems very convenient. Let's go to Tommy, who wants to talk about the wide receiver position. Tommy, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Thanks for taking my call. I tell you one person I'm not ready to give up on because I saw him play a lot at UT Martin, and he's from Lebanon, and I know he can catch the ball. It's Colton Dow. I know he's been hurt. I don't know if he's ever really gotten a chance, but I know this. The guy can catch a football, so I was just wondering if y'all knew his status at all. Thanks.
Thanks, Tommy. I am not factoring in Colton Dow, but he is a guy that maybe
he tore his ACL at the end of last year.
2 years ago, so he never came back last year.
They made him.
And so that's a guy that maybe he can do something, but again, he's going to have to earn a spot. But again, that goes back to Xavier Restrepo, right? Colton Dow, the least has something on special teams that he can contribute. He has size to his advantage. Bryce Oliver has speed, size, experience, special teams. I mean, Mason Kinsey, same thing. Xavier Restrepo has a very hard path to make this team, and everybody just needs to set themselves up with that expectation. Does not mean that he can't. We're not saying that he can't or that he won't. It is a very hard path to that.
Does he return punts or kicks?
He has before in his college career. But again, he has the build for the new kick return rule, but he doesn't have the speed for it. So, I don't know. I just think everybody let me tell you something. Here's how the Tennessee Titans view their wide receiver room. They drafted 2 wide receivers over Xavier Restrepo. They signed a bunch of wide receivers, had a bunch of wide receivers already on the roster. They only signed 1 undrafted free agent wide receiver out of 17 possible undrafted free agents that they signed. Unofficially so far, but 17.
1 wide receiver.
1 wide receiver. And that wide receiver just happened to be the guy that the number 1 quarterback begged them for in the 4th round, begged them for in the 5th round, begged them for in the 6th round, begged them for in the or they didn't have a 7th round pick. Yeah. He begged them and bugged them for Xavier Restrepo. You know when they finally said they were going to do it? Yeah, we'll do it with one of our undrafted free agents. Guys, do not get attached to Xavier Restrepo. Please do not get attached to him. You're going to get heartbroken. Let's go to Quentin, who wants to talk about the wide receiver position. Quentin, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey guys. I just wanted to talk about the Xavier Restrepo thing, and I know everybody's hating on him for running a 4.84, but I watched a video today of him throwing the ball with Cam Ward, And honestly, to me, Xavier Restrepo does not look athletic right now. He is an awful thick little wide receiver. And I'm just curious if that's something they can work out of him. Can we get past that 4.84 speed with maybe some weight room activity and just cutting a little weight? I don't know that, he's as short as he is, he should be running a 4.84. And I think that's due to maybe some conditioning that he's lacking.
I mean, he definitely has a lot of weight. And again, 5'9", 212 pounds for Amari Rogers, and he ran a 4.55. 4.52. So, I mean, Blaine, you've been saying it. I'm going to let you close out the show with it before we do the outro. Can he lose the weight enough to maybe gain some speed?
Yeah, I think he just needs to stay out of the weight room a little bit and lean out. I tell you, we got to get him in the 190-something. Before this camp to even have a shot of making the team. He does. Because he's got to show some vertical speed. Just losing that when you're a small guy like that can help you with your speed and even his burst, which is close to there, but you want to magnify that.
Yeah. I look at it like if you slim down, you give yourself a better chance. And this is where investing in yourself and investing in the training, you don't need to be going to get more weight in the weight room. Unless you're going to,
but a lot of guys,
unless you're going to convert to running back.
Right now, if he's going to running back, we good. He's at the right spot. I mean, as far as weight wise. But a lot of guys believe, including myself, when I first got in the league, I got to get bigger. I got to get stronger. I'm going into the league with the big boys.
Yep.
Then I got there and go, at minicamp, no, I need to lean out.
Maybe this rookie mini camp coming up will shine a light on where he's at in his conditioning, where he's at in his speed, his weight, and all that kind of stuff. 3HL's coming up next. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.